Greetings, my name is Rudimentary Rob. Welcome back to my Trailmaker series. Today we're going to pick up where we left off. We're here at Leapsvale and we've come to a minor realisation that, this isn't deja vu. Basically, we did a mission, got sidetracked, and then logged out. And what that generally meant was it didn't save our progress on that mission. So we essentially had to come back up here into the hills, and we had to, collect the crates and then rescue our little friends here, which is why we had the four-seater car already, even though, it looks like we've got deja vu. So, with that little disclaimer out of the way, I'm going to suggest you get yourself strapped in, put on your favourite driving music, and let's get back into the action in Trailmakers. Now, I didn't feel a need to rehash everything that I'd already done, and this session, I ended up a bit over an hour's worth of recorded session here, and because some of it was a bit of a rehash of that mission that we'd already done in the previous episode, I thought I may as well just chop most of that because it really was no different to what we'd done previously. And here we are getting a bit of a briefing on what our next mission involves. And it involves this place up in the mountains. And its leader is this Admiral fellow. So we're going to involve ourselves in a bit of a trip up to Tunberg. And, all of the excitement and, other stuff along the way. Now, with the handing in of that mission, we have increased our reputation a bit. We also increased our level, which has unlocked some new blocks. Now, this is our block list. We've got suspension, we've got some fat tyres, we've got some lights, we've got, a few of those we already had, but we've got some aerodynamic blocks there as well. Now, up till this point, I'm going to say not very optimal about my gathering. In fact, I've been driving past something that I should have been gathering. Essentially, it seemed odd to me that Leapsvale was giving me a little settlement task here to collect rubber, and yet I don't seem to have come across any rubber. Well, apologies to those people that actually know what stuff looks like in Trailmakers, because I'm sure you've spent the last two episodes shouting at the screen going, "You muppet, why are you not collecting rubber?" And I sort of came to the realization that is exactly the issue that I've been facing. So, part of this extended play session did involve playing a bit of catch-up as far as collecting some rubber so we can try and make some more improvements to our little buggies. But now that we don't necessarily need all the extra Frogget seats, we're going to spend a few minutes here and we're going to rework our little setup. And we're going to also get a bit confused about the blueprint system. So I've gone and dragged this other car out, and then I hit no to deleting the blocks, and I've just realized that puts me in this really awkward situation of not being able to go anywhere or do anything until I get rid of this, extra vehicle, or I delete my main vehicle. Now, it's kind of easy to do one or the other, but I'm just fumbling around like the old, fellow that I am, and putting up with a bunch of error messages. So, anyway, again, apologies if you already know how all this stuff works and you're already shouting at the screen. Hey, I've got like maybe an hour's gameplay under my belt at this stage, and as I've illustrated in a previous episode, if there's a quick way to learn something and a slow way to learn something, yeah, no prizes for guessing which way I tend to default to. So, yeah, anyway. Now that we've got that little pile of errors out of the way, we're going to start working on improving our little buggy. Well, improving as in removing all the unimprovements that we had on it before that allowed us to carry the 4 froggets. And we're going to get back to something that's a lot more maneuverable. I mention this because there was one bit of the earlier footage that I did delete. On our return trip from up the hill where we picked up the 4 froggets, we did run into a small battle, and I did notice that yeah, this thing did not want to turn quickly, and I'm not a fan of that kind of handling characteristic. So we didn't actually end up killing these botnacks that we ran into. We just outran them. Basically, we just left them halfway up the hill. I think we end up going back and killing them as part of this episode, but for the moment, we're just working on some self-improvement to try and ensure that, yeah, we're not going to have any maneuverability issues in the future. So, with that random fumbling and explanations out of the way, and the realization that power cores are going to be a constant bane of my existence, we're going to get back to actually getting things done. Well, alright, that was a bit of a tweaking session, but we have ourselves a couple of little runabouts that are actually, well, I'm not sure what their intention is, but they seem to be pretty much working as intended. Now, I mentioned earlier in the episode that we'd been forgetting to collect rubber. Well, that's what those plants are about, and I hesitate to think how many of them I drove past in the first 2 episodes without actually gathering any. So, yeah. as I said at the start of the episode, we're going to have ourselves a bit of a catch-up session here in terms of just gathering a bunch of stuff, with a bit of a focus on trying to gather as much rubber as we can so we can look at making some improvements in our 2 blueprints. Alright, well, there is quite a lot going on with this episode in terms of gathering and getting caught up. And there was so much going on that I didn't even manage to finish all of the commentary in one session because I kept going back and just deciding that, yeah, that's too much of the same thing. We need to kind of chop that down a bit. So here I am for session number, I've lost count. Anyway, I started with about an hour and 10 minutes worth of footage and managed to get it down to, well, at the time of recording this, about 35 minutes. So I think that's slightly more reasonable. Anyway, in amongst our gathering, we've revisited the beach. The stuff, seems to respawn fairly regularly, and by stuff, I mean the botnacks as well. So we're getting some more practice with pew-pewing those with our fancy set of shotguns we've got on the front of this thing. Look, there's other weapons out there, and I do fully intend on exploring those, but for the moment I'm just happy to stick with the stuff that the storyline just hands me or recommends me. I'm sure there will be greater opportunities for exploration of other weapons as we get further on. Now, this is sort of the point where I'd been running around for, I'm going to say, probably a good half hour at this stage. And I just decided that, yeah, that was a decent amount of gathering. But more that I'd actually sort of gathered most of the areas that I'd already been in, and I'd cleared them out at least once each. So I was starting to get a bit sort of bored, and I thought, well, I've got some materials now. I want to advance this story. Now, as we remember at the start of the episode, we actually picked up a mission to send us off to this place indicated under that shield up there. Tungberg, it is called. I'm not sure how many tongues are involved, but this is a fairly PG kind of game, so I'm going to assume that that's the abbreviation for tungsten, and Berg just referring to the fact that it's a town. So that's the innocent explanation that we're going to go for at this stage. Look, your own results may vary depending on where your mind tends to go when it hears these things. Mine instantly went to tungsten, so yeah, no judgments if yours will go elsewhere. So, you can see Tungberg is up there on top of a hill, and we need to work our way up there. So, I dare say there's probably going to be a bit of combat involved, and there's certainly a bit of gathering involved. We've already have the ability and have come across multiple resources already, not the least of which is the iron. We've got the rubber, we've got these little cans hanging around that have repair tokens and fuel in them. We've got, yes, rubber. Yeah, I'll say that again because we're actually, decently gathering it now instead of just ignoring it. We've got the berries. Now, I did notice in a mission earlier that there is tungsten. And I'm keenly watching out for that because inevitably, as we unlock each new material, as it tends to be in a lot of games, I'm going to assume that that's going to come with potentially some fancy recipes and some improvements for our vehicle. So I'm kind of keen to try and start gathering that as soon as I can, to possibly make up for the fact that I missed out so badly on the rubber at the start of everything. Now, as we're closing in the distance with Tungberg, we find that, well, the Admiral is just not willing to admit defeat on anything, and that the citizens of Tungberg are very, I will say, disturbed by the current round of events. So, this is the point where I maybe ease up on the dawdling a little bit, and I think, yeah, I better get up there. I mean, I'm sure the game lets you get up there at whatever speed you want to, but I'm just gonna, push ahead. I'm not gonna dawdle too much, he says as he dawdles, picking up some iron. And we're going to keep an eye out for our new resource. I have no clue what it's going to look like. So I'm looking in every little nook and cranny as we go. And I'm really hoping we're going to get some along here somewhere. And then I notice this weird shape. And then I notice this angry looking stuff getting thrown at us. So yeah, we've managed to make it into some combat. Now, this thing that's attacking us at the moment looks pretty damn scary, I've got to say. And the minute I stop flipping my car over, I'm sure I'll start being able to do something about this thing. But we haven't come across one of these before, so I'm not fully aware of what it can do. And it looks like it's charging something up. It's got a shield and okay, yeah, that's I think that's EMP, so it sort of disables modules and stuff, as well as a knockback. So moral of the story here is when this thing starts spinning around, unless we're just about to kill it as we were there, probably best to back away while it's doing that, so as not to get, owned by that EMP. So I'll keep that as a mental note for the next time we come across one of these things. These little guys, they're pretty easy to take care of. We did get out of that one fairly okay. If I'd been playing it a bit more safely, I probably wouldn't have needed to use that one repair token, but I was basically stationary and it looked like I was about to get owned, so I thought I'll repair up here so I can get on the move. So yeah, anyway. Back to our dawdling and gathering as we gather a bit of tungsten, a bit more iron, and then finally get round to visiting Tungberg. See, here we are, we're in Tungberg, and there are no tongues involved. See, my mind did go to the right place. Anyway, we just did a bit of a free repair there. I'm eyeballing trying to get some off-road wheels, but I've only got enough to make one, and one is not really going to be very useful to us, so we're going to hold off on that. We are going to have a bit of a gander at some of the other stuff, including, I do remember some discussion or a mission or something to do with visiting a cave and needing a light source, so I thought, I'm in here, I may as well slap it on our vehicle now and save the effort later. Honestly, I had zero use for it between now and the end of this play session, so who knows whether it will become useful in the future. I hope so. If it doesn't, it's fine, we'll just take it off and move on. Now, the one thing I am noticing though is we do have some suspension here, and I'm thinking, oh, isn't that on our other vehicle? And then I realise, yeah, okay, this is like, Lego. We're only really using the parts, one vehicle at a time, I guess. So stuff that's in use on the other vehicle is obviously not in use when I'm on this vehicle, which means I can actually attach it to this vehicle and, make things a bit better for both vehicles using the same parts. So yeah, a little bit slow on the uptake with that one, but that's fine. We're looking at installing the suspension on the front of our gathering vehicle just to make us a little bit more stable in our gathering efforts. It's probably not going to make a massive difference, but look, any little improvements definitely help, and when we're burning around the way we tend to, yeah, one or two less flip overs is definitely not a bad thing. So we're just looking at what we can do to rearrange our gathering vehicle here to best fit the suspension on the front. Now obviously the suspension adds a bit of width, and then on top of that we've still got to put the steering joint on. So it's going to be a little bit of shoehorning to try and... because I don't really want the vehicle to be that wide. So we're just looking at what we can do to try and narrow the front of it a little bit. And make it sort of okay in terms of getting the suspension attached with the steering joints and not feeling like we're as wide as the Titanic or something like that. So yeah, this is me and my thought process. Anyway, as I say, still very new at the game, still sort of nutting things out in real time. Results will vary, and I'll apologise in advance for that right now. So, yes, enjoy a bit of random, thoughts in motion as we try and work out the best option here. Now, this is where I sort of stray off the beaten track a little bit with my design. This is a gathering vehicle. I want to be able to get around and be fairly agile, and it hadn't really sunk in at this point that adding more to the vehicle than what I absolutely need is obviously adding extra mass, and that's going to impact my acceleration and all the rest of it. So at this stage I'm just thinking, let's just make this look a bit prettier, but then I'm going to realise down the track quite quickly that this is just a recipe for needing to add more engines, and of course our engines are limited by the number of power cores we're allowed to have. So yeah, we'll deal with that little decision making process here in a moment. For now, I'm driving around, I'm still flipping over, so most of the improvements haven't really done a huge amount, as I suspected when I started the exercise, but look, again, it's all a learning thing, and I've reached a point now where I've just like, yep, I've spent enough time on that, let's get this story moving forward. So, here we are, we're going to have a quick chat with our Admiral. And the usual, compelling dialogue, and we've got some things that we need to do here. We've got a few missions we can pick up, and I wonder where we're going to end up going after this area. Oh, well, we got the answer to that question quite quickly. Long story short, we're going to be going back to Leap's Vale, and we're going to be having to lug something which is allegedly big and heavy. So, Yeah, we'll deal with that one in a moment. We're just having a look around at some of the other settlement tasks that we can pick up and hand in. Yeah, we had a little bit of tungsten there, but I didn't really have an immediate use for it, so I thought reputation gain might be in order, and as we know, as we improve our reputation, we get the access to unlocking additional power core slots, so definitely at this point worth, you know, spending the 10 tungsten on that. So we've got all of those handed in, and we've got the Admiral is having another chat with us. I imagine this was just unlocked by the fact that we increased our reputation a little bit in Tungberg, and he's telling us to go out and have a bit of a scout around. So we'll look at doing that at some point, but for now, we've got this Hulken Great thing that we need to be lugging back to Leaps Vale to conclude that storyline mission. So, yeah, okay, on review, this thing does look pretty big. So, we're looking at our gathering vehicle here, and we're thinking, okay, what can we do to facilitate lugging this monstrous thing around? Now, we've already got the tractor beam from a previous episode, so picking it up is not really going to be an issue, or at least I presume it's not going to be an issue at this stage. We just need to come up with a solution for a vehicle to, well, essentially lug this thing around. Now, I mean, if you want to be big and fancy, you might be able to, you know, make a crane or something like that. I'm going for a slightly more practical solution here. I'm going to try and convert our little gathering vehicle here into like a flatbed truck kind of arrangement where we can just kind of pull the crate up onto the bed and then just, you know, drive off with it. So, anyone want to guess how well that works out? Well, you're just going to have to wait and see. Yes, I'm still getting the hang of attachment points. I'm looking around going, what have I left off? And then I see the exclamation marks on the engines. Yeah, they don't have attachment points on the ends, so you can't just stick them on the end like I had, because they're not attached. So that's fine. We moved the engines up to be beside our cockpit, and we're going to have our first go at trying to pick this thing up. And yep, okay. Physics glitch, anyone? So I'm sort of thinking, alright, well, that didn't go so well. What else can we do? And it was pretty obvious once I tried to pick it up that it is a lot wider than our vehicle. So having it sitting on top of the rear wheels is probably not a great interaction in terms of physics, and is probably going to present a bit of a problem driving around. So I'm just going to widen our bed a little bit, and we're going to see if we can... yeah, I accidentally selected there, so I was trying to work out what was going on, but anyway. Yeah, we're just widening our bed a little bit, and we're going to see if that's what we need to make this all work. Ooh, great success. Okay, well, it's not neat, but it's kind of working, sort of. Well, it was. Let's see if we can get it lined up a bit better with the orientation of the bed. I think because I had it on an angle, it just didn't want to sit properly. So we'll do a bit of rubbish reversing here, and we'll see if we can... oh, hello, and we've got the physics dance of death. So we've still got a few issues there. In retrospect, if I'd probably put a small ramp or something on the back of it, it may have gone a little bit better, but that's alright. We've elected to just haul this thing around like this because A, it's not really dragging on the ground, and B, it's not trying to, you know, propel us off into space. So we're going to call this one a win for now. My OCD brain would like it if it was sitting on the bed nice and square and even, but my OCD brain can take a long walk off a short pier as far as this is concerned. I wasn't prepared to spend too much more time dealing with that. And look, if it ain't broke, as they say, don't try and fix it. So we're back to our gathering. All the tungsten's since respawned, so we're going to gather up a bunch of that on our way back. We do have a fairly good supply of iron at this stage. I don't know how much we're going to end up needing, but we're able to build that vehicle with a fair bit of iron left over. So at this stage, I'm only really gathering the iron that I'm coming across in front of me. Yeah, predictably on our way back we do get attacked. Now I could put the crate down and switch vehicles, but honestly at this stage the game session was starting to get a bit long in the tooth. So I thought, well, I'm in my gathering vehicle, I'm just going to keep gathering and I'm going to just outrun them, or at least try and outrun them. I didn't know if I was going to be successful. Turns out I was successful, so hey, that's another win. That's a couple of wins in one episode. I'm not sure if that's entirely allowed according to our code of ethics, but we'll let it fly for the moment. We're gathering some more bits and pieces on our way back just to try and make up for the materials that we've used. But more particularly, I'm trying to get as much rubber as I can because I mean, I'm not sure what the off-road wheels are going to offer me, like, in actuality, but on paper, I'm not exactly driving around on roads. So I'm thinking, yeah, I'll get some off-road wheels and everything will just improve. We'll wait and see if that works out once we actually get some off-road wheels, but for now, I'm trying to gather enough rubber that we can get a couple of off-road wheels going and just... hopefully make things a bit better. In the meantime though, we are maxing out our gathering on our return to Leapsvale. We will be... well, we'll be arriving here in a moment and we'll hand this mission in and then we'll see what our next step is in advancing the story. So close to another power core. Let's see if we can hand something else in to get us over the line there. Oh yes, okay, we need to go and rescue some dudes out of the cave. Well, that's a mission. That's not exactly advancing our story at the moment. Oh, here we go. We can hand in some flow fruits. Awesome. And here we go. We've got an improvement to Leapsvale. We've improved our reputation with them. And that will allow us another power core. So, woohoo! Alright, with that good news, we have reached the end of this episode. If you've enjoyed it, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and to consider subscribing if you're not already subscribed. In the meantime, my name is Rudimentary Rob. Thank you very much for watching, and make sure you have yourself an absolutely fantastic day.